everybody, it's Jane Johnston with the Bar Hill Group at Remax Camosun. We welcome to the Victoria Real Estate Show. I'm here with...
Hey everybody, it's Andrew Plank with the Vibe Real Estate Group in LePage. Nice to see you all.
Yeah, and it is Thursday, August 17th, 2023. And today we're going to have Rachel Lariviere. She's going to be talking to us about secrets of the rental market.
This is really useful stuff because, it's not the area we tend to dive into as real estate agents, but we always have clients needing help in this area as well.
Yeah, and I often call on Rachel for advice, and we'll talk about how we do that. But first of all, how has your week been going, my darling?
Good. I spent a couple days away, so I was off in Tofino for a few days, which was great. I would call it restful. It's more of a reset than a rest because there's a lot of work involved in getting there, and then but really enjoy that time away. So yeah, that's time with the family. And then
I'm trying to do that too. But
yes, I see that you're up at the cabin.
Yeah, that's a loose word for it. It's a condo on the lake. I didn't know that there were condos on the lake. Otherwise, we would have bought one probably 20 years ago instead of just 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. It takes a lot of energy. So I'm on Shawnigan Lake. It took 2 trips up, one to visit a client, then I had to go back and do a showing, and then I came back up again. And then, of course, I forgot my hairbrush, so I had to go buy one.
Yeah, you weren't going to go back to Victoria for a hairbrush. We'd all accept you with messed up hair for the show. We let it slide this one time.
Actually, I was just thinking during the intro how funny it is to see my hair change and my eyelashes and makeup and stuff.
Over the years, or just what do you mean?
Over looking at the video that you put together for the intro.
Oh yeah, right, of course. Right.
Anyway, I wanted to say, so I had an interesting experience this week. So I had a buyer flake out on me.
Yes.
Who wanted to go and see properties, and I did my due diligence and I did my research on this person, and I showed them the properties, and and then I hate this term, but it's true, they ghosted me.
They ghosted you. Yeah, it does happen every once in a while, and sometimes for good reason. Something personal comes up and then but yeah, it's hard when you put your time and effort into getting to know someone's needs and wants and help them out in a really earnest and good way, and then they don't at least keep you informed of what's going on for them.
Yeah, just send me a note.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, it happens. So a lot of newbie realtors think that it just happens to them, but the other thing is that I genuinely like this person, so it's a bit disappointing.
Mm-hmm. Well, maybe you'll hear from them. Have you not heard from them since?
No. And I checked, they're visiting, and I even checked their hotel. They're staying there. But anyway, it's just also a safety thing, people. You really should check out the people who you are going to be doing business with, because you never know. And
we've definitely had negative experiences for realtors even being hurt and killed in this industry. Very uncommon, but yes, people can be targeted. So it's important to know who you're meeting up with and get to know them at the office first and so forth.
Yeah.
Trust your gut. Trust your gut for sure.
So maybe we should have someone here to talk about safety.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. All right. So once again, it's August 17th. We're going to talk about the last week's market update. I went back to putting in the stuff from 2 weeks ago because I think it's interesting to see what's happening, to look at that perspective. So let's start.
Absolutely.
All right. Go ahead.
Okay. So the right-hand section there is current, Monday, August 14th, 2023, somewhat current, just a couple of days ago. So net unconditional sales so far in August, 202, new listings 465, active listings were up to 2,454 active, and comparing that to a year before, we've got 478 unconditional sales for the full month of August 2022. So here we are, a little over halfway through the month. We're probably not going to double our sales. So we're going to be under August 2022 for sales. We are probably on par for new listings, 980 last year versus 465 this year. And active listings certainly up by, a little over 300 active listings. Not a huge percentage difference, but still it's been edging up.
I just thought it was interesting that week over week that we were almost identical in the net unconditional sales and the new listings.
Mhm.
So 100 to 230 approximately. And
Did
then
you want to talk about the 2 weeks ago?
no, it's okay.
We'll move on. Okay.
Yeah, moving on. So new listings, this past week we had 236 compared to 230 this week compared to 236 the week before. Pending, we're at 124, so we're up over last week at 101. And price decreases, this is what interests me, we're at 120 compared to 103. So people are feeling the urgency as we kind of near the end of, we're entering into the second little bubble that we generally have in real estate in the market here in Victoria.
The fall kind of rise in business that we see. Yeah. Interesting that the pending versus price decrease are almost on par for both a week ago and this week. And we've been seeing that increase in those decreases. So they've come up a lot. We're definitely seeing a lot of people making those price adjustments. So that's interesting to see. Other than that, there's not much to comment on. A couple properties withdrawn, number of properties expired, nominal, to be expected.
And lots of closings.
Lots of closings, and that just shifts depending on time of month. So that's
yeah,
we don't really monitor so much. But yeah, the ratio of new listings to pendings this week versus last week. I mean, it's almost
50, over 50%. So we're looking good here.
Yeah, it's almost like there was a bit of a bump in activity in this past week versus the week before, where it was more like a third of the properties were gone, actually 40%.
So this service comes up on our dashboard if realtors, I guess, put the, what do you call it, the
parameters
widget in there.
Right.
And before I used to just feel like this was happening and I didn't know that this was happening.
Yeah. Well, one of the reasons we do this show almost is it forces us to look at these numbers and sort of make comment on what's going on. And, you only, by actually engaging in this, that's how it's how you learn. If you just sort of see it flash in front of your screen, and not comparing it to the past weeks, you're not going to really see the trends.
Yeah. Okay, so let's just go on to the next topic, which is Rachel Lariviere. She's from Rivers Relocation. She's been in real estate on the rental side almost as long as you and I have been, I think 16 or 17 years now. And so she's a great resource if you're looking for a rental or if you're relocating, you're an executive person looking for furnished or unfurnished rentals. We're going to talk about that. So I often ask her what's going on with the rental market when I have clients asking me what the value of a property is. So I'm just going to share with you. Hold on a second. I'm just going to share with you.
We've got a video.
Action, yeah.
Somewhere.
It's coming.
Here. Okay.
My name is Rachel Lariviere. I have a relocation business called Rivers Relocation, and I specialize in helping people find quality accommodation here in Victoria that suits their needs. Specializing in rental accommodation, I also help people get integrated into the Victoria community once they arrive as well. My ideal customer is somebody who is familiar with Victoria and needs help getting to know the areas and knowing what would best suit them, as well as people that don't have time to search in Victoria. Because I'm immersed in the rental market, I have access to rental accommodation listings that people wouldn't have access to on their own. My clients are what motivates me, being able to take that stress away from them and hearing that audible sigh of relief when they know that somebody is going to take over and make sure that their rental search is going to be an easy one.
That's so true.
Welcome, Rachel.
Hello, Rachel.
Hi.
I was going to say that's so true. You know, knowing it is so stressful for people trying to figure out and navigate the rental market. I'd say in some ways, because most people don't hire or work with someone in that manner, whereas people kind of know to call a real estate agent. But when it comes to a rental, it's a really stressful thing because a lot of people don't know the first thing about how to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So who do you tend to work with for your clients now? I mean, this video is a few years old, so who are you finding now are coming to you?
So for the most part, it is people from out of town, people who need help navigating the neighborhoods as well, right? Obviously, that's huge with what you do as well. Just getting a sense of where in Victoria makes sense, where they want to be. And then as well as people who have owned their own home for the past 30, 40 years and don't have a clue, like you say, Andrew, about the rental market, just don't even know where to begin. So although most of my clients are from out of town, I do get the occasional retiree or someone who's wanting to downsize, go into that condo, have that lock and leave lifestyle, and just need some help because if you haven't been in the market for 40 plus years, some things may have changed.
Right on.
So do you find that people are looking differently now than they did 10 years ago?
Absolutely, yeah. So majority of people that I used to work with a decade ago were, you know, I would pick them up, I would take them around, I would show them properties. They would come out for a house hunting trip for a few days and we do it all as quickly as possible. Now it's a little bit different, partially because our market is so limited. So it's not so easy for somebody to come out for 3 days and show them a dozen properties. It's more at the whim of the landlords with properties coming up here and there. And also just, of course, during the pandemic, everything was done virtually, and that's kind of stuck because people realize now that it is actually quite easy to do it virtually, and it is, you know, it's just as good to show things via video these days.
Right. Yeah.
And it involves a lot of trust, I find.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, for sure.
How do you work to establish that trust? Sorry.
I'm sorry.
It's just having that initial conversation, right? And just listening to what their needs are, what they're looking for, and explaining the market. So I'm always very realistic because Victoria, we have a tricky market. And so I explain to them what they're likely to experience, what they're likely to find with given their price range, given their parameters. And I think that is really what starts out with the establishing that, you know, I'm not just going to say, oh yeah, we can get you that, no worries, because it may not happen.
There's a lot of people moving from smaller centers or centers where there's the rental market and the real estate market is not as active, and so they come here. There's a bit of sticker shock for sure.
Absolutely, yeah. It's explaining that, and then explaining that it's. I mean, because even with other parts of Canada, right, we're quite a bit different. So
you work with companies and like you work with companies sending, like corporations sending people for relocation and offices and so on and so forth. You work with
absolutely. So I work with employers. To be honest, I work with a lot of individuals, but there are a few employers in town here that utilize my services for their people coming out, and because it's just, you know, to attract and retain staff, to have somebody to know that when they come out they're going to be taken care of, because the last thing you want when you're starting a new job is to try and figure out where you're going to land.
Do you find you help people with oh, sorry, my phone was just ringing, I got distracted. Go ahead, Jane.
I'm wondering about rental applications. So I talked to you this week about my daughter. So she's just getting into the rental market. So what do people do? Well, if they've been a homeowner for a while and they're looking to be a renter, what's the secret to getting, I guess, their rental application accepted?
Well, there's two main aspects to any rental application. It's the financial side of it and then the personal side of it. So with the financial side, obviously you want to make your application as attractive as possible, right? So whatever your income is, if you have savings or investments, anything you have that shows that how much you've got. And again, working with former homeowners, it's fairly invasive, right? They think, why do I need to give all this to a landlord? But it's really quite necessary to make your application as strong as possible. Having good credit, all that really goes a long way. When it comes to the reference side of it, if you've never rented before, if you're young, or if you've been owning your own home for the past 30 plus years, then character references come in. They just need to get an idea of who you are, what you're like as a neighbor, how you take care of your property. So good character references are realtors, right? People that have been into your house, or neighbors, people that have, come over and maybe house sat for you or pet sit for you, that sort of thing. Basically anybody you can think of who's been in your home and can speak to how you keep your home, what you're like as far as responsibility, things like that. And really that goes a long way. And being a homeowner is generally looked at as already you're responsible enough to own a home. So that's pretty good right there.
Okay, so I'm just wondering, you mentioned in our conversation before, you're talking about the 1 month rental system. What is that?
So in BC, you're only required to give 1 month's notice when you vacate a property. And in Victoria, we have somewhat of a last minute society here. And so particularly with the purpose-built apartment buildings, those 4-story apartment buildings that you see everywhere in sort of the core, and some of the newer ones out in the West Shore, people typically like to wait till the last few days of the month to get their notice. So for example, the last few days of August are when the October rentals are really going to start coming on the market. And then so that last week of August, the first week of September, that's when you're going to have those October rentals coming on the market. And then it gets a little quieter in the middle of the month because things go very quickly. So if something is good and it's well priced, just like with real estate, it'll go very quickly. And it is pretty, it does get pretty competitive. So you want to make sure you're on top of it in that little window for sure.
So you have a month, like every month you've got this push at the beginning of the month where you've got to be pushing through and then middle month again, and towards the end of the month, is your busyness in that as well? I guess that's where you're looking for the people who've given notice somehow. You must have some connections and.
Yeah, absolutely. So, people start giving notice towards that last week, right? So again, that's when things start picking up. That's when the listings start coming on and people are just saying, okay, I've just gotten notice. This is what I've got coming up for the month sort of thing, right? And so, yeah, that's when it starts to get a little bit hectic.
So in terms of applying for rentals, you show somebody a property, it's being listed, I don't know, on Kijiji or Craigslist or Facebook. You show up and you see that they're getting a lot of activity. What are the tips that you tell your client to get that rental? And how do you help them do that?
Yeah, so one of the most important things is having your application information ready to go right away. So oftentimes what I'll do is I'll even ask for an application in advance of viewing the unit so that it can be completely prepared. And then if they like the unit, they can apply directly after viewing it. Another thing that's really helpful, and again, I found this is something that's changed a little bit within the past few years, is because a lot of these viewings seem to be virtual lately, having a little cover letter, because they can't meet you in person necessarily. And oftentimes what happens is the landlord will show a property and they'll show it to the top 8 people because they've had 100 people respond. They go through all the responses. They pick out, say, the top 8 people, show it to them between 2 and 4 on Tuesday in 15-minute increments. So it doesn't really give you a lot of time to sell yourself, right? So if you've got a little cover letter printed up, something that you can give them, as well as also I always try and make sure that I turn the camera around, make sure they have a conversation directly with the landlord or owner so that they've got that personal connection as well. And then, yeah, as far as the application, it's just making sure that all your information is ready. And like we discussed before, you've got all your financial information ready to go. And you've got all of your personal references ready to go, or rental references if you have them, which is fabulous.
It definitely speaks to, when you show that you're prepared and you can just really get it right off the bat in front of the landlord, you're so much better off and then saying, well, okay, I'll get back to you. I'll have to, you know, I do want to rent it, but I don't have my stuff together. So yeah, so important to have that just all ready to go.
I'm a bit confused by something. So are you showing the property virtually, or is the landlord showing the property virtually?
I'm taking them through virtually. So I you know, I have Skype on my phone. I take them through, and I always, I don't suggest going through just with the landlord, because the landlord's not going to tell you things that I'm going to see. So the landlord's not going to tell you if there's a weird smell in there. They're not going to tell you if there's mold in the corner, or, you know, carpet that's ripped up or something like that. They're going to show you what they want you to see, and you're going to get there and there's going to be some surprises. So that's another part of what I offer when we're doing those virtual viewings. I'll tell them the things that they won't see on camera. And I'll also give them my impression of the landlord too. So particularly if it's a private landlord that I personally haven't met yet, I'll give them my impression as to whether or not I think that they're going to be somebody that's going to be easy to work with as far as, you know, moving forward through a tenancy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm smiling because I did a virtual tour of a property and I sent it on WhatsApp, and I got this big laughing emoji back because as I was walking through, that smelled so bad, I started going, and then I'm like, oh my God, there are flies.
Yeah. Oh no, you see some crazy stuff sometimes.
Some of the places we've seen that are being rented, because we're not dealing with rentals, but we do go through a lot of rental units that are parked for sale, and you just shake your head sometimes as to how they're taken care of or lived in.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have another question. We were talking about the rhythm of real estate, and so we have a spring market and then a bit of a fall market. Does the rental market follow that rhythm?
Yeah, somewhat actually. So what happens is, it's not maybe quite as pronounced, it's slightly different, but what happens, particularly because we're a student town, right? So we've got, you know, Camosun colleges, both campuses. We've got Royal Roads University. We of course have UVic. So there is a fairly significant change in May when the students leave, faculty leaves, everybody sort of moves out in May. So if you're looking for a rental in Victoria, absolutely the most activity on the market, the most availability on the market is usually in that May-June window. The months you really want to avoid, if at all possible, are August and September, because that's when everybody's coming back. Everybody's trying to get settled for the new school season. The competition is ridiculous. Through other times of the year is kind of guesswork. So there may not be as much on the market in December, but you're not going to have near the amount of competition that you would even in the springtime, but certainly in that August, September area.
So I guess the opposite is true. If you're looking to rent a unit, you probably want to be trying to rent it out in August, September, and probably be having a harder time in the May, June kind of window.
Yeah, so exactly. And July too is actually a pretty good month now. A lot of people, because this is, you know, this has been pretty pronounced for quite some time. A lot of people I work with who say they're looking for August, oftentimes they'll be willing to start in July to just kind of minimize the competition. So July is actually getting pretty busy now over the past few years as far as competition. But yeah, so as a landlord, July wouldn't be bad, but certainly August and September, you're not going to have any issues renting your property at all.
Now, we've seen, you know, we were just discussing with pre-show here about the interest rates for mortgages, and you know how interest rates have come up a bit. What are you finding for the rental market, and what's your kind of prediction for the rental market in terms of affordability for people? And are you seeing anything that's impacting the rental market that's on the radar for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So the rental market has increased significantly. So just to give you an example, an average price of a one bedroom in January of 2022 was about $1,500. Now the average price of a one bedroom is over $2,000. So just within a year and a half, we've gone up a significant amount. Two bedrooms haven't gone up quite so much. So two bedrooms, the average price is around $2,700, and they were around $2,400 about in January. So they haven't gone up as much. That being said, there are a lot of newer properties on the market, which are kind of, so not only are there newer properties, but a lot of these older properties have gotten to a point where they need to be renovated. They were built in the 60s and 70s. They have to be renovated. And so these properties are all getting redone, and the market is just going crazy with the prices because they've they've done them up so they're nice. They don't have in-suite laundry, the older ones, right? But they'll still charge it, you know, quite a bit of money. So those are just the average prices. Obviously, I see 2 bedrooms going all the way up to $4,000 if they're really nice, right? And there are some exceptions to the rule. Particularly suites and houses tend to give you a little bit more value for your money than a purpose-built apartment or a condo. So you can still get things a little bit cheaper, of course, a little bit further out. If you're stuck on being walking distance to downtown, obviously you're going to pay more than if you're willing to go out to the West Shore and do a bit of a commute. So.
Thank you.
Okay. Do you have any other questions? Andrew?
Do you have anything you want to tell us in general that we may have missed, or you, you know, what's been going on for you in the market recently that you've been noticing, or?
Yeah, I think, and actually just to sort of answer your last question a little bit more, is I think we have stabilized. So what happened is things were going crazy basically from about May of 2020. Everything just increased right until about October of last year. And that's when that was sort of the height of the market. And we were seeing bidding wars. So you talk about bidding wars in real estate. There's bidding wars on rentals as well. And I went through an entire year and a half in that 2021, 2022 period where almost every place we looked at, people were offering more than the rent that was being asked. So that finally stabilized over the winter. So January of this year, things started to get a little bit calmer. So rental rates, they actually do fluctuate a bit as well. So rental rates actually go up a little bit more in that spring, summer period. And then when things are a little bit quieter in the winter, they do tend to come down a little bit as well. So there is a bit of a fluctuation seasonally in prices as well. But I think overall, just trend-wise, I'm hoping that we're going to be stabilized for a while. I'm seeing stability now. It's you know, even though we've gone up so much and prices haven't really come down, at least if we stay here for a while, that'd be better than going up again.
Yeah, with the higher mortgage rates as well. I mean, a lot of landlords probably won't want to rent for less because they're looking at, you know, all the factors when it comes to their own affordability. But you know, it is supply demand. If we have more supply, I'm sure, but I don't see it coming in. I mean, on the West Shore, perhaps some, but there are purpose-built rentals.
Rural areas, maybe the market will come down, but urban, I don't see it.
Yeah.
I have one more question. What about parking with, like, that must be a premium for a rental?
Yeah, more so with the downtown condos, right? So with those downtown condos, like, you know, they'll build a building with 100 units and 70 parking spots now, right? So that is becoming a bit of an issue. And to make matters worse, a lot of these buildings that they're building them on parking lots, not even, you know, places you used to be able to rent to park, right? So again, the majority of people I work with have vehicles, so it's just a deal breaker for them. If the place doesn't have a parking spot, then they're not going to rent it. So, and then if you're even able to find a parking spot, like you say, they're pretty pricey, right? They're going up, particularly in the downtown core. Of course, out in the West Shore, not so much.
Yeah, and if you're renting you know, a suite in a home in a rural location, and you're not included parking on the property, there's still probably parking nearby on the street available.
Exactly, and that's the beauty of suites, right? You get generally a little more value for your money, and there's more options with storage or parking, things like that, typically.
Do you have a sense of like what value you'd place on in-suite laundry or parking, or, you know?
Great question.
How does ceiling height affect value?
Well, and more so than value, it's rentability, right? So it's really, am I going to be able to rent this property? So if you're working with investors and you're looking for people who want to purchase something to rent out, absolutely make sure it has parking. Make sure it's not one of those, you know, those suites that has the yeah, exactly. And you know, because the more desirable it is, the easier it's going to be to rent. And even if it costs a little bit more, you're just going to have that much more competition on your property. Because I do see properties, even in this market where we're at around a 1% vacancy rate, I see properties sit in this market because they're just either they're overpriced or they're just not desirable.
Yeah, that's a lot of this. I think that's the thing a lot of people don't understand in the real estate market as well, is, you know, oh, the market's hot, everything's selling. So we can price anything we want, any price we want. But no, people are not stupid.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, that's a relief, but it's true.
It's true. Most people are not stupid.
Yeah.
Okay.
People want to feel happy in their home.
Yes.
I agree too, and the value of the parking and the whatever amenities like in-suite laundry are shown in the fact that they'll have to reduce their rental ask, I guess. Based
Yeah,
on.
and you also, or maybe just have less choice in renters, and then so they don't get to select the renter that is maybe the best fit for them.
Exactly. Yeah.
I have tons more questions, but we
Yeah.
don't actually have time. So, Rachel, how do people get in touch with you?
They can contact me by phone, 250-813-3099. They can go to my website, www.riversrelocation.com, or they can email me, rachel@riversrelocation.com.
And for those who don't know, Lariviere means rivers. That's how she got the name.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you so much for coming today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
No problem. We're going to continue on here. So we'll bring up our slides again. You're welcome to stay or you can depart. It's up to you. What do you want to do?
I'm interested to see what you have.
Okay. All right. So we're going to talk a bit about needs and wants. Andrew, what do you have?
What do I have? I really need to find something in the West Shore that is, I'd like to find we're still kind of narrowing in on what's the perfect property for this client, but we're looking at probably like a 2-bedroom rancher style townhouse would be ideal, under 900,000. And so that's a big one. Be nice to find something. We're still looking in from condos to single family homes as well, but it's really going to be a matter of I think what she responds to best for that one. Other than that, active. I've got some people coming live active once we've got homes sold. Home up to 2.2 million with 5 bedrooms, nice family home somewhere near good schools would be really helpful. Yeah.
Would you like an old house in Oak Bay with a terrible wallpaper that needs painting?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I would.
All right. I'll see what I can do. Maybe I can get you in there.
Okay. Thanks. Appreciate it.
No worries. Okay. I have a townhouse coming up. It is 3 bedrooms. It's on Grand Rose. We're signing the listing today. We've already got the pictures. That's going to come up above 1.1 to 1.25. I'm not sure the price exactly right now, but it's large. It's probably about 3,000 square feet. So that won't work for you, but that's coming up. We just got an accepted offer on Champions. One thing I want to say to people when they're looking, realtors and buyers, is to make sure you put Highlands on your shopping list, because often people search just Langford and Colwood and they're missing the whole Highlands market, which is
Hannington Creek area is just beyond Langford and has some really great homes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what else am I looking for? I have clients who are looking for a townhouse, newer townhouse in Langford up to 1.1. And I have buyers looking for a character home in downtown Victoria. Right now we're finding there's just so much competition. We looked at one yesterday on Daffodil that had quite a lot of viewings, but the basement height wasn't high enough.
Daffodil is not downtown Victoria.
Well, it's in the core.
Okay.
Anyway, so those are about my needs and wants. And then other new listings, I have a rancher coming up. It's going to be in North Saanich. It's on Sumac, and they've beautifully renovated it. It's gorgeous, and it has a studio that could also accommodate short-term stays, and that one will be around 1.9.
I had a good meeting yesterday with some folks who are looking to sell a 2-bed, 2-bath corner unit near UVic, top floor. And so that price point is going to be in the plus probably area,
Mhm.
but decent little unit with some nice appliances and a really nice floor plan and 9-foot ceilings and a loft bedroom, lofted ceilings in the bedroom. So looking forward to hopefully working with those folks to sell that one, and it would make a great rental for someone. Unfortunately, with the new rule changes that have made for rentals everywhere in all condos, this building had allowed rentals even for that, and that was a rare find in the UVic area. But unfortunately, that one's no longer the case. But this is a great investment unit, or a great one to live in.
Richmond, by any chance?
Nope.
Okay. I haven't been in there doing a CMA lately, but it sounds like Richmond.
Yeah, no.
All right. All right, you guys, if you enjoyed our show, please like our podcast. I've seen people coming and going today, so we've had quite a lot of input from people. Please subscribe to our podcast. We are on all your local podcast channels. We're also on YouTube, so don't forget to subscribe there. Don't forget to comment as well. We'd love to hear what you have to say. If you think of a guest that you might want to hear on the show, we'd love to hear that. And please, if you know somebody who needs information, please share our show to them so that we can pass along the information where it's needed.
There you go. Thanks so much for coming in today, Rachel.
Well, thank you very much for having me. It's
yeah.
All right. So we're on every Thursday morning at 9:30. Andrew, how do people get in touch with you?
Yeah, reach out. I'm at 250-360-6106. info@andrewplank.com is the email, and website is andrewplank.com. Instagram is plankandrew. Friend me on Facebook. What the heck? Come say hi.
And if you want to reach me, I'm Jane Johnston with the Briar Hill Group. My number is 250-744-0775. My email is briarhillgroup@gmail.com. You can reach me on my website at briarhillgroup.com, or you can go to the victoriarealestateshow.com. And on Instagram, I'm at realtyteacher_remax_Victoria. All right, everybody, have a great week. We'll see you next Thursday at 9:30. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
See you later, Andrew.
See you later, Jane.